Okay, this is going to be the video which I review the arc. I'm going to do the entire arc, not just part 1, part 2, part 3. Because I think we need to look at this as a whole. Did the Enterprise series arc help or hurt the game? Did it give us stuff that was useful in the game? I hope we're going to answer some of these questions in this video. For me, this arc there was some really good stuff, some really meh stuff, and some failed stuff in this arc. Like I said, this arc was from the series Star Trek Enterprise. It's my third favorite series, and I like that series. I like the characters on the series. Scopely did like the creators of the show. They didn't do the Enterprise series justice in this game, and I'll get to that. But the first one we get introduced to in part 1 is the Xindi Reptile. Leading up to this game, we've been working on PvE officers for hostile grinding or hostiles, like Troy in the last arc, Brianna Torres from the Voyager arc, and Hugh. So those have been key ones for us to tier up, get up as high as we can, because they're vital officers to have below deck. But unfortunately, the game designer just said, well, we're going to throw that on our ear. All those crit builds, PvE crews that you got, they don't work out of the box for this hostile. You have to be creative and use, other ways to defeat them. And that was the case very, very early on. Unless, we'll get to it. Of course, Scopely sells a solution so your good crews can work again, but it's at a price. But we'll get to that. They expand the Ex-Borg faction to add a bunch of really good stuff in it. The most important one that they added was this critical floor damage, which we'll get to in a minute. As you can see, this buff, well, they're calling it a buff, but it's research. The buff makes it sound like it's temporary. It's not. It's something that it's more like a favor or research. I don't know why they're calling it buffs. That made no sense. But it's not like something you use and it's only good for a certain amount of time. Ex-Borg faction, there is a way to do this research, or buff as they're calling it. There's some other good stuff. You look in the Ex-Borg faction and you can see you can read it on here. You can go on starfleetcommand.com and read this if you need to. So I'm not going to go through everything through this.
Okay, this is where I had my first problem with the game designers here, with the officers.
Okay, the first officers in the game was Trip Tucker, Epic. Really good officer ability, no captain ability. We'll get to that later.
His lower deck ability is for the Voyager. Why the heck would Tucker be on the Voyager? This is totally stupid.
T'Pol was made a rare officer and a mining officer. You can see she does an officer ability to protect cargo protection and ore. This was totally wrong. There's no way that T'Pol should have been a rare officer. She should have been the third officer in the epics. She should have been the last epic officer done. This should have been Mayweather or Malcolm, but not T'Pol. The missions were really good. I liked them. They actually they were a good source for some shards for these officers. So I was really pleased with those. That was a thumbs up. Okay, this is where they sell us a solution. Okay, we all right away go up in there and we find out, oh crap, none of our crews work on this thing. Crap. So this is a prime that they did that is called a critical floor. Your critical hits cannot be less than 100% of normal damage. This will stack favors with the Borg tree. So you buy this prime and you do the research in the Borg tree or buffs as they were calling it, and you're able to use your regular crews again, and they work really good. After you buy this prime and do the research. Okay, they do a new refit in this for the Borg cube. What this does is it allows you to double charge it. Big whoop. Not going to get my money. They also introduce a new officer sourcing in this galactic recruit. This was a disappointment because they didn't give you really a lot of opportunities to earn, or they didn't put it in the store. I think they put it in the store once. I only saw it once. But pretty much there was an event that gave them out, and your ticketed events, instead of giving you officers, gave you pulls in there. If I can remember, the pulls weren't all that great. This was a thumbs down. They should just go ahead and add the new officers that are in this pack into the regular epic, or find a better way to source this, because right now there isn't. So it gets a thumb down for me. And they also started the new season 2 of the territory. So they did a territory reset with this arc as well. And they had a battle passes for the regular battle pass and the territory battle pass. Part 2 introduced the NX-01, which to me was dumb. They should have flip-flopped these parts. This should have been part 1, and part 2 should have been part 2, to be honest with you. And it came with another new hostile, the Aquatic Xindi Hostile, and its own loop tied in with the ship. This is a really good loop, an easy way to tear up the ship and earn Ex-Borg credits. Now, there's something that they don't really mention right here. To get these opportunity chips, you have to do the battle chips. That's one of the things that drop. And you got to get 3 of those to make a pull in either the guaranteed or risky. There's 2 of those. And that's a pretty neat little thing that they got in this one, where some of the loot that you get when you do a redemption in the NX-01 refinery, every day you get these 2 little tokens that you can use, and you can either do a risky pull where you might get 5 of each of them, or you get a big pull from it. It's been hit and miss for me. I usually do 1 risky and 1 normal, where you get a fixed number. Or if I get big pull, I'll risk it the second time. But it's kind of makes it interesting. I like this loop. It's easy. You crew this little ship right. You go up and hit those aquatics. You can get pulls pretty easy. This is an easy loop. I like it a lot, and I think it's a good way to source these Ex-Borg credits. And it's helped me progress pretty good through this tree. Oh yeah, and NX-01 has this deep reveal, deep space system. I've used it a couple of times to find people, so it works. I like it, but it's not that big a deal. Now here's the new Ex-Borg. Now this time, instead of calling them buffs, they're calling them favors. They're favors. I'm just going to call them favors because the buffs thing didn't make any sense. So you got one for a whole. All these are really good, but early on you want to focus, like you wanted to focus on the critical floor. You want to focus one on the ship. I would do like one of these warp things, because early on your warp range isn't going to be a factor at all. You want to be able to do the loot and the repairs. I say loot first, repair second, warp last. And there's a lot of other good stuff in here. I mean, I've progressed pretty good through a lot of these in this tree. Okay, here's one of the big fails of the arc, is this holodeck extension building. A day 1 pack for the holodeck. It had a bug. when you redeemed it, it paid you the whatever you used right back. It caused a big controversy. You got to do this starting at Ops 22. I won't say it's complete junk, but it's something that I want to engage in. From the daily pull, the little drips, I'll update it. I've actually gotten some shards from it. I've gotten some E-data shards, which I don't need at all, and some E-Troy shards from it. This is pretty much a failed mechanic or failed deal in it. Nobody really engaged with it that I know of. The new officers, the Epic Archer is probably the best officer in this arc.
Archer's captain ability is really good. It's specially designed for these hostiles. It gives you an amazing loot bonus. Unfortunately, it only works on these new hostiles.
You want Archer in the Aquatics NX-01, and you want him in your regular warship doing the Xindis, the Xindi Reptilians too, because his bonuses makes it such an easy thing. You know, the 5-minute grind that the content creators were harping at the beginning of the launch. It's possible with Archer, very possible, and getting the big pull is not that hard either. So, Archer is a valuable officer in all these loops coming up, and his officer building pretty strong. And the good thing about it, he works both on hostiles and PvP. I don't know how good of a PvP crew this is. I haven't tried it yet. We're doing incursions. Maybe I can find an opportunity to test it out and see. But this crew, okay, this is another thing I have an issue with. Rare Shran. Shran was a recurring character. There's no way if they can only have 6 characters, he should have been 1. This should have been Malcolm or Merriweather, not him. Sorry. Shran shouldn't have been in one of these officers. Sorry. He wasn't a main character. Okay, and this was the oddball, the Epic Pick Hugh. And he can only be sourced through the Enterprise refinery, and you have to use Epic loot. No, thank you. At least not now. There's too many good things in that Ex-Borg faction store that I'm not going to be doing this guy anytime soon. And I like to have all the officers in a lot, but he'll just have to wait. Not crazy about his officer ability. His below deck ability is pretty interesting. Are some Ex-Borg favors that do the exact same thing. So he's not a must. He's something you want to do down the line, but not a must. I'm not gonna waste any Epic. The missions again on this one was pretty good. Like I said, I have no qualms with the game designer on this. They did good. We scored some officer shards. It was fun to do. I have thumbs up on this. Okay, part 3 ended up with an event store. This was an event store arc. I'm going to grade the arc in the event store differently because I think it should be. Let's see what was introduced in this arc. The temporal artifacts. Okay, I like this. I like this better than the other artifacts. The way that they source this, the way you can choose which one you get. You don't got the luck of the choice. This was the way the other one should have been done too. But let's go through that. So triple artifacts was introduced in the game, and the way that it was that you work this loop is through the third hostile introduced in it, which is the silent. Let's see if they show them here. No, they don't do that yet. Okay, here's the silent enemies. They are the new hostile. Okay, but note, the officer we're going to see in a minute, a crew with Archer, Tucker, and the new officer we're going to see in a minute, good crew for this. Really good crew. Worked well, but there's one knock. Even though it works well, Archer's boost, loot boost doesn't work. Doesn't work. Okay, the silent enemies were start at level 41 and go up to level 65. And here's the systems. They name them here. And this tells you what kind of loot that they have. Notice it says the type of loots. There's a huge thing that they did not mention here. And so that they mentioned some crews that you can use. This crew right here, E. Picard, E. Data, E. Tucker was one I used before I got the new officer. But after I got the new officer, I used that one. I went back and put Archer in there and used them as a Archer, Tucker, and the new officer. But this one is a good one as well. This one here. I would say it's a toss. Which one is better? But at least with Picard, you get the boost of loot. Compared to Archer, Picard's loot boost isn't as great as Archer's. But like I said, you don't get it. But I think I could hit a few more with Archer because of the synergy between the three. Because you notice Tucker has no synergy with E. Data and E. Picard. I think if my E. Picard was a tier 4 to go with my tier 5 E. Data, and my Tucker was tier 3 at that point, we might have been talking a different story. It might have been hands down the best crew. So, some of these, like you've heard me say before, what tier they are makes a difference. Most of these officers aren't super great until they're tier 3. And at that time, I think my Tucker wasn't tier 3 yet. I went tier 3 during it because we got some Tucker shards during one of the events, and I was able to tier him up. So my Tucker's tier 3 now. But anyway, these are good crews, but they left the key thing out of this little thing right here. Though these different loots are available in these systems, the one big thing that they did not mention is goes also by ops level. So if you're like a 55 to 60, you can only spend the G5 rare. You can't spend the G5 uncommons, any of the G4 or the G6 if you tried to punch up on these guys. And good luck with that. But say that you punch down, like for the event we had for this. We had an event that was poorly designed, and any person that understands how to play the game, when you get an event that only pays out a certain fixed rate, like 200 points per hostile, are you going to punch up on that event, or are you going to punch down? You're going to punch down so you can hit as many of those hostiles as possible on a whole. I'm not going to go to a system where I can hit 20 hostiles at 200 apiece. I'm going to go down where I can hit 100 hostiles at 200 apiece. But the problem there was no mention that if you punch down, there's no way to spend that loot at all. No way. Most of y'all are going to be like me. You can see I got 269,000 rare temporal disruptor parts I can't spend. I've got 63,000 uncommon. And at the time, during the arc, I hadn't went up to 61 yet. So I've got 93,000 rare. That was where I could spend at that time. Now you can see I'm having to use uncommon 6-star. There's no way to spend these credits. Currently they have no vehicle to redeem these or a conversion. Now on my Discord, one of the community managers in the Discord say they're working on a way that we can redeem them, but they've been saying that about the blueprints for ships that you don't need for a long time. So I'm not going to hold my breath. Like I explained to this was totally on the art designer and the way that they design the event, putting a fixed value on the hostile that you hit, because you're going to want to hit as many as you can to score, because it's a leaderboard event. To score high, you need to hit a bunch of them. So was I going to hit it in the rare category? No, I was going to hit on one of these lower ones so I can score as many of these hostiles as possible. And I scored high on those. I don't know if I won the event, but I know I was right at the top. I got a lot of loot off of that event. So, and that was another thing. There was loot on the line. So for an event store that was very stingy in payouts. And so this created this problem. Let's look at the officers that were introduced in this game. And we got Flax. He's a really good officer, but this should not be Flax. This should be DePaul. And I would definitely give him a captain's ability, and I'll talk about that in a minute.
So if there's any game designers watching this video,
I'm not just going to gripe about it. I'm going to give you actually a freaking solution for this. And maybe in the future when you do this, you can think about it. Maybe actually watch the series. And then we got another mining officer in Hoshi. Hoshi belongs in the game. She belonged in the game. The three rare officers should be Malcolm, Mayweather, and Hoshi. I'm sorry, Phlox, but you don't make the cut for me. I would definitely put DePaul in your place here. And we'll also give her a captain ability. I want to give Tucker a captain. Evasion reduces total critical chance. And today I found out that it makes a difference in incursions. So I actually broke down and bought this. I actually bought the cutting beam damage prime too. And I'll do a video on that. The temporal artifact for the cutting beam is worthless. You get to take it up to tier 7 before you can punch up one hostile. So like if you're hitting your beam could only hit a 52 Explorer, you can maybe hit a 53 at tier 6. So it's a piece of junk, useless. Don't waste your money on it. Don't waste your money on that. But this one here, I'm able to hit a 60 plus. I took it up, my cube up to 6-star and try to hit one of those hostiles, and it dies every time, even on the 60s. But in 5-star space, it crushes those 60s. And my beam's able to take out a 59. And at that time, my cube was a tier 11. At tier 11, it's almost as strong as what it can take out, but not quite. To actually make that mechanic work, this is a decent investment if you got the money. Is it vital? No. Not at all. Now these primes for the refinery, I didn't buy those. I wouldn't buy them. It's up to you. Each in their own, but these primes I wouldn't mess with. The manufacturing primes. And this kind of tells you about these two new critical primes and what it does here. And I would say, unfortunately, when you're going against the higher players, you need these. You do. I hit a guy today in the incursions that I should have waxed his clock, and somehow he beat me. And I looked through the battle log, and none of it made sense. And then I went and bought it, and I went and found the guy, and I cleaned his clock. So he had these. So I had to buy them to counter that guy, or counter future enemy. If you're a PvP player, I would buy these if you got the money. I don't know if I can't remember what loot they use to do it. It might be one of the drip loots. So you might be able to free to play this, but this is the ones you want to free to play. If you can afford these to be competitive against the big guys, you're going to have to have these, unfortunately. And I don't like when they do this in the game where you have to spend to compete. I'm not a fan of that. I would say that if you got the money, go for it. When they did the bug patch, usually it's always the bug patch mid arc, they do Usually it's a short maintenance, but this one was a long maintenance. And when they came up, they actually added stuff to the game. What they added to the game was Xindi Armadas. And we'll talk big time about that in a second. This new video thing that they got, meh. Then they added cloaks. They royally screwed me over here on this. And they did an update for the G6 conversion. If you don't know, there's a tab down there for the Sigma stuff. For most of y'all, it's blank. It doesn't have anything in it. But for the 61 Plus, it has a place where you can convert your regular resources to the Sigma resources. I don't know what it was before because I didn't go to 61 until after this arc was over with. Okay, the Xindi Armada. These Armadas were for 51 plus players. This was something that they put in. It was supposed to lessen some of the load of some of these loops. Okay, here is a uncommon pull. This is the second one I've done. You're guaranteed a rare Xindi Armada 200. I believe you need 1,000 to run one, so this is 1/5, so you've got to make 5 pulls. You're also guaranteed some uncommon loot. It looks like you get uncommon loot for all the loops. So you see in the regular uncommon Armada credits, solo Borg Armada credits, Dominion solo credits. And this is where the chances come in. You get a chance for some of these temporal artifacts. And got some 5-star. See, it looks like, and it's uncommon, this is a 5-star pull with some temporal artifacts and some loot for some of the other loops. So not bad. Let's see what kind of pull we get. Okay, I've got 900 uncommon 5-star crystal, 820 uncommon gas, some survey parts, some interceptor spot parts. I got the Xindi rare 200. Like I said, that's 1/5 of what I need right now. So that gives me 400. And I need 1,000. And I got the Borg solo uncommon credit, the Dominion, and the regular. And I pulled 34 great eye shards. That might be enough close for me to take that to the next tier. And then I got this Jaylee or whatever, however you pronounce it, wave defense one. I do great in wave defense, so that was one of the temporal artifacts that not high on my list. I finished those easily. Usually it's up to my partners how high we go. Not bad pull, not a great pull, but like I said, that might give me enough to tier that temporal artifact for the eye here. Okay, let's look and see what's in the, just like the other one, looks like we're going to get rare credits for the other loops. And also, this is great right here. We get some of the loot for the expansion cubes right here. Now, these are the artifacts that I want right here. These are the better artifacts. These are the ones that I'm working on right here. This is still 5-star. I don't know why I'm a level 61, why I'm getting 5-star in here. I mean, good stuff. But the thing that I want the most out of this is coming up here. Yeah, we got some temporal destructor, the loot for that. So you get a chance to even pull more. Okay, here's the ships. I don't need any of these ships. I've got all of them right now. The 58 miners wouldn't be a bad draw for me.
Now here are the 60s. I got both of the ones I want right now, so I don't need any of these. But here's what I want right here, the Enterprise officers. Right now it only has Archer and Tucker, but hopefully they'll put Phlox in here too. So we got all three of them, but I don't know. They probably won't. They'll probably use that one to hold us hostage and make us buy stuff for, like they always do. They end up like regular Strange New World, Leanne, and Una aren't in any sort, doesn't have any sourcing. Una has some in the mission keys, but it's hard to draw her. Mostly you have to get Una from incursions. I actually got quite a few of those. I did pretty well in incursions. Our server lost again, but it is what it is. Here's the one called the bonus one. This has all the 6-star stuff in it. You know, like you can see, there's no loot in here. This is all chance stuff, it looks like. No guaranteed anything. Which is always dicey with Scopely. But this is probably what I'll draw. If it's got Enterprise officers in it, this is the one I'll draw. Wow, it's got speed ups in it. Also got the Sigma stuff in. So yeah, no Enterprise officers. So this one they're gonna make you decide whether you want the officers or the stuff you need to be in 6-star. Man, I really don't like that. What they should do is have it ops driven. Once you get over 60, this stuff and the Enterprise officers go together. I really don't like this. I don't like the way they did this, where they split it up.
During the ARC launch, what we got was Expansion Cubes 2.0, where the payouts for the Armadas was very small, and the amount that you have to make pulls were very big. One of the things that I don't like when they put something this important behind something like this. Okay, if you're say I'm a level 61 player now. On my alliance, I have another 61 and another 62. We got a couple of 59s and a few other 50 players that could be involved here. To do this, you got to have it crewing right. You got to have the right number of people involved. Say if you're an alliance, you don't have 6 51 plus or 7 51 plus. Once you upgrade do that last upgrade to the Armada building. So say you need, I think you do need 7 on some of these, especially if you're on the lower range of the 50s. You're going to need all 7 seats filled. The ARC launch, I work nights, so I wake up about 10 minutes into the ARC. Some of the guys DM me, ask me if I would help them on these. So we go up there. We do 4 of these. After the 4th one, I went up into the Armada tab where this is at, and I looked, and I done 4 Armadas. To get a single pull, I needed 12.8 million. I got 2 million in loot. For the rest of this arc, this mechanic was dead to me because I wasn't going to waste my time in Tritanium for something I can't even get a full pull. The way that it was explained to when I listened to one of the content creators, supposedly these were supposed to be redeemed as, say, 6 of you go up there and you both all do one. You're supposed to be able to do a pull. Well, we did 4, and I wasn't sniffing a pull. I just saved my directives. until this one that we did right now. It looks like they did some kind of tweak. It's not a great tweak, but I noticed that my loot was quite a bit more than when we did it this time around. Like I said, I am not a fan when I got to rely on 5 other people to have their crap together to do one of these. Just like I'm not a fan of the wave defense, the formations, the regular armadas like the Federation, Klingon, Romulan. I can solo one if I need to. I like the solo armadas because I'm in complete control of my own destiny. When we're talking about these type of armadas, the formations, the expansion cubes, all these, the wave defense, my destiny is in the hands of other people as well, not just my own. And I don't like that. I don't like it that when they put that in the game. So this is not, I don't completely dislike it now that they did the little minor tweak that they did between the ARC event and now, because like I said, now I was able to suddenly be able to make a pull where I wasn't even sniffing one before. I will engage with this. I've said to a lot of people I would never engage with this because of that, but now it looks like they made some kind of minor tweak to it. And if they did, I'll say thumbs up, Scopely, just like when they made the tweak to the original reptilian thing. They made that tweak and you were able to do it. I was able to finish the SMS event, and it was pretty high tiered, before I could make a pull in the refinery with it. I had to make like 5 runs before I got enough loot. But then they made a major adjustment on it, and because everybody complained, where was the 5 minutes? Even the content creators. Looks like they did something here too. I don't know what it was, but it looks like now they're paying out decently, not great, but decently, something that you can live with. Before it wasn't. Okay, like I said, you had uncommon and rare. And the way this is, you get one set of directives a week. And when you pull 5 of them, you get enough to do a rare. So the sourcing on this is horrible. It's going to take a long time before you get the really good stuff, which is the rare one. Okay, the view screen, I didn't notice anything about this. Okay, this is my biggest contention in the whole damn game right here. This is something I almost quit the game for. Okay, you guys know that right before this arc, got my Rotaran. And one of the things that I wanted with my Rotaran that I didn't do with any ship past my Pylum and my Chlorinar was I wanted a cloak on it. My Chlorinar and my Pylum, I had to get the cloaks through the event store. And it was doable in the event store because there wasn't as many shards needed as it is for this thing. In the pay store, the Rotaran cloak is $600. You got to buy 6 packs. And I didn't want to pay $600. What I planned, next event store, I was going to either try to get the whole thing or knock a big chunk of it off. Okay, so event store starts. I went gangbusters on every event. I carried, even our Alliance events, I went crazy on there. And most of the guys will contest to this, that on my Alliance and maybe even people on my server. I either won every event or I came in the top 3 of every event. And I helped my Alliance win most of the events. I scored a lot of loot early on with St. Patty's thing going. And they started doing St. Patty's loot instead of event store loot. The event store was, and it was starting to get a little bit more stingy as we go along on it. So I had enough event store credits to do $300 worth of my cloak. So I bit the bullet and said, okay, I'll go ahead and do that. Then I can focus on archer shards the rest of the way. Because it looked like it was going to be very stingy. And I didn't think there was a way that I was going to be able to complete either one of them. So I wanted to go ahead and get my cloak and get as many archer shards as I can possibly get. 4 days later, this patch drops. All the cloaks are in the faction store for faction credits. Furious because I felt like I was ripped off. Because if they knew they were going to introduce these cloaks in this during the event store patch midway, number one, cloaks shouldn't have been in the event store until after this was released. It shouldn't have been in the pay store either. So people didn't get ripped off. I got ripped off. I feel like Scopely stole $300 from me and stole half of my event store loot for the arc, or this part of the arc. So I'm not real happy with that. I said this was maybe the second time, closest time I ever came to quitting the game was over this, because I felt that they ripped me off. Or had communication, hey, we're going to introduce cloaks at the tail end of this event store. None of that happened. So I felt that they screwed me over. So we also had two more primes put in the game. They had one where you can start multiple armadas. I think that's kind of cool, but not something I'll probably buy. Say if I had cash burning in my pocket, I don't think this would be, it would be my first choice either. They have a Xindi Scrap Prime too. I'm far enough into this arc that if they would have done this maybe the head of the arc, this would be more attractive. Right now it's not. Got most of the stuff that I want, and I'm pretty far on the other stuff that I want to do. So getting this prime's not a big priority. Probably wouldn't do it. And they have a new refit for the NX-01 called the NX-02. Doubles the Officer Exchange and the Rare and Epic Voyager shards and Ex-Borg. Don't know that I would do that one either. Okay, let's grade the arc. Faithfulness to the TV series, I give them a D, just because the way that they did the officers. And not just to be a guy that's going to be negative. Let me show you what they should have done with this instead. And it would have made this game, make these loops a lot better and make the game more fun. First, let's go to Archer. Archer's captain ability is a really good one for this arc. Xindi Hostiles loot gets boosted by 500%. Must if you're doing the Reptilian or the Aquatics. Archer needs to be the captain. Work your crew where it works. The current crew they have in the game: Archer, Tucker, Phlox is a really good set. A really good set. I've tried them in other PvE situations with different hostiles, and they do pretty good compared to the other ones. Not the meta, but they do pretty good. Once I tier these up higher, might be a different story. Archer's officer ability is really good. Okay, what I would do with Archer to make this set better, I would make Archer's ability work only on the Reptilians. Okay, and then the Tucker I would give a captain's ability. I would give him the same captain's ability as Archer, but I would make him for the Aquatics Xindi Hostile. And I would think something a lot better for his lower deck. This is stupid for him to be a lower deck for the Voyager. It makes absolutely no sense. If they should have put this on one of the Voyager officers, quite frankly. Not an Enterprise officer. It doesn't make any sense. Stupid. Plain and simple. Phlox. Number one, it wouldn't be Phlox. It would be DePaul. I would keep the officer ability the same, because this is really good. And this one does the cutting beam, and it actually works pretty decent. I've tried it. We can keep it the same. That doesn't matter. I would call it something different. Obviously, the specimen cataloging goes with flocks. I would call it something different. I would keep it the same. Then I would make Epic T'Pol's captain ability for the silent hostiles. The same as that. So you would have Archer, Tucker, Epic T'Pol, which is going to be flocks. Just saying when I say that, no, it's flocks. I would make that for the reptilians. For the aquatics, Tucker with Archer and T'Pol on the side. And then for the silence, T'Pol with Archer and Tucker on the side. So that way it kind of, it makes you think. It mixes it up, makes it interesting. Now, Tucker, Archer, and Flock is supposed to be a decent PvP crew too. I haven't tried that out, to be honest with you. I was hoping to do that in incursions. Haven't found the opportunity so that I could use it yet. That's yet. Phlox wasn't supposed to be a PvE deal. He wasn't supposed to work on hostiles at all. It was supposed to be just straight PvP, but if people just trying out for the grins found out that he works. And they work pretty good. They're a good set. Are they the best set? No. But they are a really good set. Like I said, they're the only set that you would use on the aquatics, I think. And I would definitely put them in my warship and do the reptilians too. They are a good set for the silence. I think because Archer's officer ability doesn't work on the silence where you get the boost. You need to probably find a way where Picard, put a crew together with Picard. Probably the one they suggest, Picard, Data, and Tucker. That one works. Those two crews work well. Can't decide which one works better because they're like the aquatics, which is another problem behind tokens. So is silence. And the silence is even worse because you can't collect them. You get 8, and that's all you can have is 8, which I don't like that at all. But it is what it is. So like I said, Shran would not exist. I would have either Mayweather or let's just say Mayweather for Shran. Instead of Phlox being in the game, I would have put Malcolm. So my rares would have been Mayweather, Malcolm, and Hoshi. It'd been better if they would have added 2 more officers so we could have the full set, or we could have had Malcolm and Mayweather added as well. The faithfulness to the series could have been a little better, and I give them not an F, but I give them a D for the way that they did the officers. Now for the officers' ability, they're really good. I give that a B, just because the only way I could give them an A is if Archer, Tucker, and Phlox became the new meta. Then they would be definitely the A. But now I'll give them the B. But the game designer's usage of these guys is where I'm it's faithfulness to the series kind of thing, not actual gameplay. Gameplay, I give it a B. Vent Store, I give an F because stinginess of this loot. They scheduled a St. Patrick's Day event, and put no loot events in during the damn St. Patrick's Day event, which cut down on the possibility of getting the officers in the store. That was poor planning. Also, the events, like I gave you the example for the silent hostile event. They designed an event that caused players to get loot they can't spend. I don't score them high. I score them a D. As for the ship, I like the ship. Wish they wouldn't have made it specially shipped. So overall, I would say completely, I give them a C. They hadn't done the thing with the cloaks. They would had better math on the Xindi Armadas, and they would have had better math to begin with on the Reptilian deal. Then I would say, I would have given this a lot higher, because these loops, I know that a lot of people complain about them, are very useful in the game right now. Will they stand this test of time? I don't know. Because like right now in my game, dead to me. I did all the favors down here. This is dead to me. I come in here, get a travel token, get an uncommon loot exchange, and I only run these during events now. I know a lot of people talk about redeeming these. These claims don't really matter, and some people make like this is the end all be all. Let's do a grab right here. I'll do a middle one. Whoopee. Is it worth grinding these hostiles to keep this going? Nope. So once I tiered this out, did all the favors that I wanted to do, this was dead to me. Dead to me. Dead to me. The 3 faction stores are I use all the time. Right now, I'm very active with the Ex-Borg and the Section 31. I do think they did a good job of putting something in that's going to be in the game and useful to the players down the road. So I will say that. So they did a good job on that. Could have been done better? Yes. But I think the game designers got to give a thumbs up on putting something in the game with these 3 loops that will help you from here on. So until next time.